Action Park in New Jersey killed 6 people and injured thousands more. This was America's most dangerous theme park. Locals called it Traction Park and Class Action Park. Water slides had deadly vertical loops. Go-karts reached 50 mph without safety controls. Lifeguards rescued 30 drowning victims every weekend. Today we're exploring how this death trap stayed open for 18 years.
It did bring sometimes a criminal element.
I don't know how many people died at Action Park, but it wasn't just one person.
Electrocuted,
Decapitated,
fractured vertebrae, impaled on the bowl,
had a heart attack.
Nobody should ever be the second person to die in a wave pool. Close the wave pool.
Action Park was the brainchild of Eugene Mulvihill. Owner of Great American Recreation in the late 1970s, Mulvihill already operated a successful ski area in Vernon Township, New Jersey, but he wanted to generate revenue during the summer months too. His solution was to transform the mountainside into a summer playground with water slides, go-kart tracks, and alpine slides. When Action Park opened on May 26, 1978, originally called Vernon Valley Summer Park, it represented something new in American entertainment. Unlike traditional amusement parks where guests were passive passengers, Action Park put visitors in control. You steered your own go-kart, controlled your own alpine slide cart, and navigated water attractions with minimal supervision. Mulvihill's philosophy was simple but dangerous. Give people the freedom to test their limits. He believed that guests should be responsible for their own safety. And this hands-off approach would define everything about Action Park's operations. The park exploded in popularity throughout the early 1980s at its peak. Over 1 million visitors per year flocked to ride its 75 different attractions. Teenagers and young adults especially loved the adrenaline rush and the sense of danger that traditional parks couldn't provide. Word spread that Action Park was where you went to prove your courage. But there were red flags from the very beginning. The rides were designed and built largely by people with little to no engineering experience. Safety testing consisted of offering cash incentives to employees to be the first to try new attractions. If a few staff members survived, the ride was deemed safe for the public. The regulatory environment of the 1980s was far more lenient than today. There were no standardized safety inspections, no mandatory reporting of injuries, and limited oversight of amusement park operations. This created the perfect storm for what was about to unfold. The injuries started almost immediately. But the Alpine Slide was the first to earn a truly notorious reputation. This 2,700-foot concrete and fiberglass track sent riders down the mountain in small wheeled carts. Guests controlled their own speed with handbrakes, but these brakes frequently failed or weren't used properly by inexperienced riders. Carts regularly jumped the track, sending riders tumbling across rough concrete and asbestos surfaces. Most visitors wore only bathing suits, resulting in severe road rash covering their entire bodies. In just 2 years, 1984 and 1985, the Alpine Slide alone caused 14 fractures and 26 head injuries. One 19-year-old was thrown from his cart, hit his head on a rock, slipped into a coma, and died. The super go-karts were equally dangerous, while officially limited to safe speeds. Employees routinely disabled the speed limiters by wedging tennis balls into the mechanism, often without guests even asking. With limiters removed, these carts could reach 50 miles per hour on concrete tracks designed for much slower speeds. High-speed crashes became commonplace, and the poorly maintained engines filled the air with toxic fumes that made riders sick. But perhaps no attraction was more infamous than the Cannonball Loop, a water slide with a complete vertical loop at the bottom. The physics were fundamentally flawed. Riders who didn't maintain sufficient speed would stall out at the top of the loop and fall straight down, smashing into the concrete walls, broken backs, shattered noses. And concussions were so frequent that the ride was shut down after just 1 season. The wave pool earned the nickname the Grave Pool for good reason. The artificially generated waves were massive and powerful, designed to wash swimmers toward the deep end, where many couldn't touch bottom. With up to 1,000 people crammed into the pool at once, panic was inevitable when the waves got rough. Desperate swimmers would climb over each other to escape, causing additional injuries over the park's lifetime. 3 people drowned in the wave pool. The Tarzan swing presented its own unique hazard. Guests would grab a rope and swing over a pool of water, releasing at just the right moment to land safely. Miss the timing, and you'd slam into concrete walls. Even successful jumps were dangerous because the water was kept so cold that many swimmers went into shock and couldn't make it to the edge. requiring rescue by lifeguards in 1982. The kayak experience claimed another life in the most preventable way possible. This artificial whitewater course required guests to navigate single-person kayaks through rapids. When kayaks tipped over, which happened frequently, riders had to stand in the water to right them. A 27-year-old man stepped on a metal grating that had become electrified due to exposed wiring. He went into cardiac arrest and died. The sixth and final death occurred when a guest suffered cardiac arrest after plunging into the freezing water beneath the Tarzan swing. Each death followed the same pattern: dangerous design, inadequate safety measures, and a guest paying the ultimate price for the park's negligence. As the body count mounted, Action Park's reputation began to shift from thrilling to terrifying. Local hospitals became familiar with Action Park injuries, treating everything from severe lacerations and broken bones to drowning victims and electrical shock cases. Emergency rooms in the area reportedly stocked extra supplies on busy Action Park days. Lawsuits poured in, but most were unsuccessful. Action Park's legal strategy was always the same: blame the victim. They argued that guests who were injured had failed to follow instructions, ridden attractions improperly, or overestimated their own abilities. The park's liability waivers and the hands-off regulatory environment of the 1980s made successful lawsuits difficult. However, the mounting legal costs began to take their toll. Even unsuccessful lawsuits required expensive legal defense, and the park's insurance premiums skyrocketed as claims accumulated. By the early 1990s, Action Park was hemorrhaging money on legal fees alone. The situation became desperate during the 1995 season when Action Park operated without insurance, a last-ditch effort to cut costs. This reckless decision highlighted just how precarious the park's financial situation had become. Media attention intensified throughout the 1990s as journalists began investigating the park's safety record. Reports emerged about the true extent of injuries and deaths, shocking even those who knew Action Park was dangerous. Public perception began to shift as parents realized that they had been unknowingly sending their children into genuinely life-threatening situations. State regulators, facing increased pressure and scrutiny, began taking a closer look at Action Park's operations. The combination of legal costs, insurance problems, media attention, and regulatory pressure created a perfect storm that the park couldn't survive. In 1996, Great American Recreation was forced into bankruptcy. Action Park closed its doors at the end of the season and never reopened. Eugene Mulvihill's experiment in unregulated thrill-seeking had finally come to an end. The Action Park tragedy became a catalyst for sweeping changes in amusement park regulation across the United States. States began implementing mandatory safety inspections, standardized reporting requirements for injuries, and stricter oversight of ride operations. The International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions used Action Park as a case study in what not to do, developing new safety protocols and training programs for the industry. Modern amusement parks now undergo rigorous engineering reviews, computer simulations, and extensive testing before any ride opens to the public. Insurance companies also learned from Action Park's failures, requiring comprehensive safety measures and regular inspections before providing coverage. The days of operating without proper insurance became impossible in the industry. The site where Action Park once operated is now Mountain Creek Water Park, completely rebuilt with proper safety measures and engineering standards. It operates successfully today without major incidents, proving that thrills and safety aren't mutually exclusive. Strangely, many former Action Park visitors remember it fondly despite, or perhaps because of, its dangers. As journalist Chris Gethard wrote, Action Park was a true rite of passage, where visitors share stories as if we are veterans who served in combat together. This nostalgia speaks to something uniquely human: our attraction to controlled danger and the bonds forged through shared risk. But Action Park's legacy shouldn't be romanticized. 6 families lost loved ones, thousands were injured, and countless others were traumatized by experiences that should never have happened. The park stands as a stark reminder that freedom without responsibility, thrills without safety, and profits without accountability create a recipe for tragedy. The story of Action Park teaches us that some boundaries exist for good reasons. When we eliminate safety measures in pursuit of excitement, we don't create character, we create casualties. Sometimes the most important lesson is knowing when to say no, even when yes might be more fun. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.